why has this failed to happen? Because you obviously, as you said, there's so many attempts at peace.
It's a matter of communication and acceptance. The basic issue here is whether the Jews have any claims to the land of Israel. Because the Arab position is that we have been here 2,000 years, just come as a result of the Holocaust. And why should we, the Palestinians, pay for German crimes, which is a legitimate claim? And look at Ahmadinejad. What is he doing? His mission is to unite the Muslims around him. He wants to be the champion of the Muslim cause. So what unites Muslims today more than hate of Israel? So he attacks Israel. How do you attack Israel? You attack the source of its formation, namely the Holocaust. So he denies the Holocaust, okay, for one purpose, to delegitimize Israel. Right? Of course, he's risking here being ridiculed because the Holocaust is one of the most documented events in human history. Okay? But he's willing to risk it. Why? He's smart. Even if it proves that the Holocaust was true, okay? He still is a winner. How? He managed to equate the existence of Israel to the Holocaust. So in the mind of people was, yes, there was the Holocaust and Israel was created as a result of it. That's what he wants, to equate the two. Israel has no other legitimacy except as a reaction to the Holocaust, except to protect the people who escaped from the Holocaust. And this is something that is missing in the communication. Most Muslims, most Arab, and definitely most Arab, and majority of Muslims do not recognize that there are historical reasons for the formation of Israel aside from the Holocaust. True, the Holocaust accelerated the process, but Zionism has been in existence for 2,000 years. Judaism is essentially Zionism. They are connected inextricably. We are commanded, for instance, in the Torah, so many times that you were delivered from the land of Egypt. This is your land, and the Mishnah, of course, the return of the exiles is a major engine in Judaism. It is the dream. Residing in Israel is weighed as much as all the other mitzvot in the Torah. A third of the commandment in the Mishnah can only make sense when practiced in Israel under sovereignty. So Zionism, which means return to Israel, has been in existence for 2,000 years. And this is, if only we can convey that to the Muslim world and to our Arab neighbors, we are going to get here peace in 2 days. I'm just exaggerating as an engineer, but we are going to have peace eventually prevailing because the utopian is going to change. Then the idea of the formation of Israel is not going to be people coming from Germany and take our land. But people are returning home and asking us to accommodate them because they played in this sandbox before and they want to play together. That will be a total different paradigm. And this is what makes
So Judea, what you really are talking about is a failure of communication in a sense, in a very profound sense, in a historical sense. First of all, of course, not all Muslims think like Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran. And no, I want to say more than that. When he was having his conference, I took a group of Muslim leaders, significant leaders, including imams. We called on the Holocaust Museum. We were received by the director of the Holocaust Museum, Sarah Bloomfield, and they had a wonderful reception. And she was very grateful. She said, at this difficult time, you made the point, it was a symbolic visit, that not all Muslims think like this. But I do agree that it is crucial, especially for world peace, because although Israel and Palestine are small in terms of the geography, and remember pointed out that I am from South Asia, where we are talking of billions of people involved. Nonetheless, because of the importance of the area, the region, the faith itself, you have this global presence. And therefore, it's crucial for world peace that you resolve these issues. And if that is the case, then the attempts to explain exactly what you've explained to us this evening surely should be given priority into the Muslim world. And therefore, you or people like you or people who want to convey this sense of passion for both your own narrative, your own history, and with respect for your neighbors and the history and narrative of the Muslims, that needs to be communicated. And I think there is a failure there. I'm not seeing too much of that happening. So therefore, the absence of your narrative, I for example, and I pride myself on reading about religion. I've learned so much from you about Jewish history, Jewish narrative, apart from a very generalized idea of these events. And as a Muslim, of course, I very much look at Moses as a Judaic, Christian, or an Islamic prophet. So I share in the triumphs and the failures and the pain and the anguish of many of these biblical figures, because for me they are Islamic prophets as well as they are Judaic prophets. So I really think, Judea, going back to certainly the point that I believe in, that this dialogue is critical here in Kansas, but also in the Muslim world.
Absolutely.
If you want to
so you and I
down,
agree that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the sore points that may lead to world catastrophe and needs to be resolved. There's another one, the question of terrorism, American and Islamic, and that's a second frontier. But this frontier must be resolved in some way.
It's the epicenter.
Epicenter. So therefore, the communicating like we do and presenting the two narratives side by side is extremely crucial for world peace.
Absolutely.